Friday morning, social media friends, existing connections, new connections, and for those of you who might have, we don't know how it happens, who might have tripped upon this live event, this live stream event on social media because you might be a second, third, or beyond connection to myself and a couple of my guests this morning. Welcome to our first episode in 2025 of New You, New Job, and New Home. My first guest today is someone that I've come to know, I think, before COVID timeframe. So, Brian, you're going to have to do a gut check with me once I bring you into the studio, but I think my memory serves me pretty correct. And with all of that said, friends, Brian is in a business where, just like mine, he touches, he wraps his clients around what he provides as solutions to most, if not all, of the 5 typical life events. And what are they? What are these 5 events? Well, rather than me talk about it, let me just kind of flash it to you so you get a visual aid. So the first life event might be, hey, maybe you, maybe your parents, maybe your uncles and aunts, they're having this look on their face. And in the background, it's the beach. Heck, who doesn't want to be at the beach today? I know I did. I couldn't get there today because guess what, people? Typical January, I had to go out and shovel and clear the sidewalks a little bit for the obvious people that matter to me. The other life events might be, guess what? I see more and more of this. I hear about it. In this past year, 2024, the entire summer, we were invited to wedding after another. It was friends, the kids of friends, cousins after cousins. It got kind of quite expensive. And then the next life event we're going to at least touch on today will be, guess what? Time doesn't stand still. For those of you who are expecting and growing your family, your life event is so joyous. And if it's going to happen this year for you, well, hey, well, we're applauding for you as well. So with all of that said, let me bring in Brian into the conversation. But before I do, let's get his team members to give him a nice rocking round of applause. All right, team members of Brian, let's give him an applause. Let's get him going this morning. Here we go. Brian, they're calling your name. They're giving you that rock star welcome. All right.
Thank you so much, Bill. Good to see you as always. And thank you for
think about your fan base calling you out, saying, whoa.
Love it on a Friday morning. Appreciate that very much.
You're very welcome. Yeah, we got to do stuff to get each other going, jumpstart 2025. Why not, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Brian, am I correct? We met each other before COVID.
Yeah, around 2019.
Year or two before COVID, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one of the things I remember after I met you is you're definitely a coach of the team that you surround yourself with. You're definitely a leader of people, right?
Yep.
But pushed all of those important things aside, you are definitely someone that, just like me, provide value, provide impact, and provide solutions for a lot of households that go through those life events that I shared the visual aids with, correct?
Absolutely, all the above, yes. It's a series of different events that we've evolved with the client base. And
yeah. So let's talk about the first life event that I think I shared through a visual aid. So let me bring that back up, right? It's the largest segment of consumers. It's the baby boomer generation that is thinking about, on the cusp of, or maybe have just flipped the script and said, you know what, heck with this weather, I'm going to retire. So that's a segment of households that you serve.
Absolutely. Yeah, that client base makes up about 50% of the relationships that I have, and it's an ongoing process as they retire and as they evolve in their life. What's next, and what does a warmer climate look like, or downsizing the house, or a series of life events like we were saying.
Yeah. What is the one important question when you have your conversation with them that they ask you? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, in regards to a lot of times the conversation, like, what do you think retirement's going to look like, and what's your ideals? What do you envision that to be? A lot of times people resort to what their parents' retirement looked like, and that's not always the case.
Yeah, yeah. And do some of your conversations, Brian, involve and require not just the parents, let's call them John and Jane,
Sure.
retiring, but maybe, just maybe, they involve their adult children, does it not?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're anywhere from 2 to 3 generations in. So yes, there's the parents, the younger generation, and sometimes grandparents with grandchildren involved. So yeah, we work through all those different eras.
Yeah. And when some of your clients are quote unquote retiring, and let's maybe equate the retiring with downsizing, right?
Mhm.
Um, what are you seeing? I'm curious to pick your brain on this. What are you seeing as part of their downsizing? Are some of them, let's call it like it is, moving out of the land of Lincoln?
Yeah, we're seeing a push towards the states of Tennessee, Florida, and then some are heading out west, Arizona. So tax friendlier states,
Tax rent, yeah,
is one trend, and then how cost of housing, of course, as well. So there's
yeah.
there's pluses and minuses with every area.
Yeah. Do you see this element that is equally important sometimes for this segment of your client and my client? And that is, not only are they retiring and downsizing, but maybe the bigger motivation. And you and I sometimes don't know that initially until we move past the first layer of discovery and conversation. Maybe it's that of they need to be closer to their network of friends,
Mhm.
family, and or flat out just children, caregivers.
Absolutely, yeah. As we age and there's different decisions, healthcare is one aspect, and them getting the treatments that they need, but also the environments and the people they surround themselves, uh, you know, overall. So the all important aspects of the decision. It's not an easy decision. Some people they start and then people will follow, and then other times people already left and they follow those folks. So
Right, right, right. Um, Out of curiosity, uh, I think you and I are probably in a similar generation.
mhm.
Um, are you having your conversations with your parents, your in-laws? And the reason why I ask is because I know for a fact we are having those conversations.
Yeah, yes. With my mom's situation, she's in the process of considering downsizing as we speak, because there's just too much to take care of,
Yeah,
with two homes. And then, in regards to my in-laws, we've had the conversation with them as well in terms of what's next. Initially, they were considering a move outside the state of Illinois, but now with a grandchild in the mix, that's not happening. Um, so yeah,
those grandkids, they tug at those heartstrings, right?
that's right. That's right. Yep. 100%.
Let let's now move our conversation to the other pillar of the life event, right? Which is this one, right? People getting married, or let's be real. Modern Family is here today. People who are getting remarried. Um, how do you impact what they need to do going forward, Brian?
First and foremost, it's in terms of pricing out their life and looking at their situation and how does life, I think the further we can get them to the future and thinking about what life looks like with, whether it be a second marriage or a first time marriage, what does that look like? Finances is a touchy feely subject to begin with, but the earlier we can get people talking about that, the better the success from their financial house in general. Yeah.
Do you find, Brian, with your client relationships, and maybe just for as long as you run your financial advising, wealth advising business, do you find that in a typical household, you've got one partner or spouse, right? I'm being PC here, partner or spouse that is the spender, and the other is the saver.
100%. You don't see it's one. It's just like risk tolerance and everything else. You got one spectrum and one spectrum, so you're in the middle and trying to meet halfway.
Yeah. You're being the psychologist and referee.
100, all of the above. Absolutely, yes.
And then what about the households who are growing their family? Just like in this visual aid, right? I mean, the old cliche is there's no better time to start a plan than right now. Don't wait, because there's now so many more new stakeholders that our clients are going to impact, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of just envisioning what life is like in the future, and then the ongoing costs. It's 10 grand just to have a child. Then you have the healthcare expenses, and then if they need daycare or some help, as mom and dad are professionals and working throughout the day, like our situation. And
Right.
so yeah, there's a lot of aspects that come into play, and then eventually the earlier you can start saving for their college and their futures, that helps as well.
Yeah. And that's why kind of like your personal story, those grandkids tug at the grandparents' heartstrings. It's like, don't move, stay closer. You can help us. You can help us take care of them going forward, right?
Yeah, there's a trade-off there for sure. The energy is good, and yeah, and proximity is always good too.
Yeah. Do you find that one of the biggest obstacles of your clients, and we'll generalize here, is it that of the one word procrastination?
Procrastination is the killer of progress for sure. We run into that time and time again in terms of it's being a coach, in terms of taking people to the next steps and reminding them the importance, in terms of part of your your health and well-being is one part of wealth. The other part is your financial house, and
Yeah.
having those two combinations is really key.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Um, Procrastination, even in our business, let's call it like it is. There's probably a day or two here during the week. You and I might just procrastinate a little, and it's either our accountability partner is going to then call us out and say, "Hey, you said you were going to do this, right?"
Yes, exactly.
Yep. So, with all of that said, I think this word procrastination is something my next guest also helps to resolve with her clients. So let me bring her into the conversation. But before I do, this next guest of mine is a recurring guest. She was kind enough to share her time with me when I launched this video podcast series, New You, New Job, and New Home, last calendar year. So she shared her time, did a couple of guest appearances in between all of the other things that she does, people. And so you probably know her, and you probably know her as that girl organizes. But I really know her as a friend, and I call her Anne-Marie Guenther. Let's bring her into the conversation. Anne-Marie, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Do you agree procrastination is one of the obstacles in your business when sometimes you engage with clients?
Oh, most of the time. Most of the
Most
time,
of the
Bill.
time. I was being
Because
kind. Okay.
I have so many clients who are like, you know what? I wanted to call you 6 months ago. I thought I could take care of it. I was going to call you 3 months ago, but I thought I could take care of it. And now it's a complete disaster. I'm like, I've heard that story all the time.
Yeah, yeah. And as part of what Anne-Marie does, back to my tease and storyboard as I welcome her into today's conversation, today's episode. That Girl Organizes is the name of her business. I found it to be so appropriate when I met you, Anne Marie, also before COVID. So fast forward to now, it's been like almost 5, 6 years. It's so appropriate,
Wow.
right? It's so appropriate. And so for those of you who are procrastinating, we're all guilty of it sometimes. And maybe this event is in front of you. Let me share this visual aid with you. Maybe you need to pack up stuff that you really don't need and that you really don't want. And by the way, this visual aid is being so kind. They don't have a lot of stuff, but of course, I'm just dropping it in here as an aid for you. So Anne Marie, gotta ask you. I'm gonna warm you up, right? I'm gonna get you going. Um, in your opinion, professional opinion, are females better organizers, more open to that versus male?
More open to it? Yes. Better, not necessarily.
Really?
I have a lot of gentlemen who I don't work with a lot of guys, but when I do, a lot of times they're on their game and they're better at it than women. I think because they're more relaxed about it. They're
Yeah.
not worried about everything in the kitchen sink. Because as women, a lot of times we have the kids going on or the grandkids and we're babysitting and we have meals to think about and groceries and we have appointments. It just never ends. So it's a little more challenging for the women to concentrate sometimes.
Yeah.
I do have a handful of men who are on the ball. They just needed to get going because typically they'll have to take off the afternoon to work with me.
Yeah.
And they just need that time to concentrate on one thing.
Yeah. I hear you. My next question is with a typical client, right? And I'm sure there's no typical, but I'm trying to keep it simple here. But with a typical client within their home, their household, which room is the one that they always procrastinate the most with? And for you, that's where you try to wrap your arms around them and say, "We got to eat the frog, people." Which room is that one?
Number one's the basement. And if
Yeah.
they don't have a basement, it's the junk room. They throw crap in it and shut the door. A lot of people have that room, and sometimes that ends up being an extra bedroom because you only use it, once or twice a year?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I am hand up. I'm one of those where, yeah, after the two big holidays, because time is so short. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, you know what? Let's just throw it down to the basement. We'll deal with it later, right? You've heard
Shut the door, right?
that. Is your business similar to Brian's and mine in the fact that you also tend to trail, if not sometimes get in front of the life events, people downsizing, which may mean moving. It may be a local move or a big move, right? And then, of course, like people coming together, getting married, remarried, and then growing a family. You, your services tend to trail all of those life events as well, right?
The first and third more than anything,
Okay.
but having a baby, not nearly as much.
Okay.
1 out of 10 of my clients in the last 3 years have moved.
Okay.
1 out of 10, that is a lot. And I'm sure Brian's seeing the same thing. A lot of people are moving out of state. There's very few people staying here. I know it's really gorgeous here, but there are other places to be.
There are
There
other
are places
places
that are
that are
greener
just as
in
gorgeous.
a lot of
Right.
ways.
Right.
Right. Right. There's other things that I think we want to look at eventually once we get to around 50. But you're right, the grandchildren are a strength.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're too young. You don't have to get grandchildren right now, right? Correct?
Not yet. My oldest is 22. So
Okay.
I wouldn't doubt in the next few years there will be some marriages and babies coming.
Uh-oh.
And I have told them, I'm already trying to string them along, like, hey, mom and dad are going to move in the next few years. You're just going to have to go too if you want help. So.
That's true. That's true. I do see, for my business, I do see this happening quite a bit as of late. And that is John and Jane, we'll call them again mom and dad, right? They're selling their the home that they raised and grew their children in. And so John and Jane have made that decision, powered by all of the value add from Brian, let's say. And then all of a sudden, John and Jane is whispering into their adult son and daughter, uh, Tom, you need to call this guy named Bill so that you can figure out whether you qualify to buy a home or not. It's
Yes.
like,
And sometimes they're home too.
Yeah.
Sometimes the parents are like, I've got the perfect place for you.
bingo. And by the way, that has happened in my entire career being a mortgage professional. That's happened probably on a percentage basis, about 30%. And so for those of you, social media friends, first degree connections, second, third, whatever, or others who are you just tripping on this live stream event, hey, welcome. We're not going to discriminate. That is a growing trend, and it's very easy to do, so to speak. It's called a gift of equity, where John and Jane is going to gift some fraction of equity in the property to son Tom. Okay. And so surprisingly, it does happen. Between you and me, son Tom has got to love the property that he grew up in as a kid, because if he doesn't, he's like, well, mom, dad, why do I want to buy this?
I bought my first house from my parents.
Did
it was
you?
my house. I did. We were there for 15 years.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
Did your parents move out of state or something like that?
They built a big, beautiful house, which fit all of them beautifully. Would have been nice to live in that when I was a kid.
So, hey, there you have it, audience members. These are some of the different paths in front of you. If you're the John and Jane parent, if your son Tom, hey, these are possible paths for you. So as we wrap up today's first episode, people, of New You, New Job, and New Home, I want to simply say a big old thank you to my guests today for sharing their time with me on this, let's call it like it is, a cold, wintry Friday in January, right?
That it is.
And for those of you who may be watching this either as a live stream or as a recording, because guess what? You now work from home. Maybe you're playing hooky. Hey, that's allowed. If I'm a boss, I would allow you to play a little bit of hooky, right, on certain days. Or if you are a stay-at-home parent, welcome to today's episode. As we wrap up, my hope for those of you who are watching this content is that you'll get just something out of this that will make your day, today, Friday, a better day in 2025, and or help you, because my guests provide a value add, perhaps for you or someone that you know and love. It just might help you jumpstart your plans in 2025. So as we end today's episode, I wish you a great jumpstart to 2025. I'm going to ask my music posse to play us out. Here we go.